So for today's topic, we'll be discussing mutations in the DNA and some mechanisms prokaryotes and eukaryotes employ to repair them. Some repair mechanisms have already been discussed in the central dogma, such as the proofreading capability of the DNA polymerase tree, but here we'll be tackling the other mechanisms. The DNA is subjected to damage every day, whether it be mutagenic compounds or UV light, which can result to what we call mutation. Shown in blue arrows are bonds that can be hydrolyzed spontaneously, while in red arrows, these functional groups are sites of possible oxidation. Lastly, the green arrows indicate sites of methylation. But why do we not experience the immediate effect of these DNA disruptors? And the main question would be, how do organisms repair these mutations so as not to deal with its effects? One example of mutation is the formation of thymine dimers. These dimers occur when adjacent thymines are subjected to UV light, causing the formation of a cyclobutyl ring. If not repaired, the cyclobutyl ring can hinder DNA replication or transcription. The DNA photoligase, which is present in prokaryotes and some eukaryotes, but not placental mammals, including humans, repair these thymine dimers. The DNA photoligase binds to the site of mutation and can be activated using light in the UV and visible region and release the formed cyclobutyl ring. It is important to take note that formation of dimers is not exclusive to thymines. It can also occur between two adjacent purine or pyrimidine bases. Another unique way to resolve mutations in prokaryotes is the mismatch repair, which happens when two or more nucleotides are not complementary to the other strand. How do prokaryotes know which strand is the correct strand? This is solved by the methylation or the presence of methyl groups in the parental DNA, as newly synthesized DNA does not have methyl groups added yet. To repair such mutations, the mut-S protein binds to the site of mutation, which then followed by the mut-L protein, and together they form a loop. Afterwards, the mut-H protein binds to the protein complex. Simultaneously, the loop gets bigger until they encounter a methylation point, usually at the GATC of the parental DNA. From there, the mutated DNA will be cut with the methylated DNA as the reference DNA and will be repaired using the normal replication machinery enzymes such as DNA polymerase and the DNA ligase. When all repair mechanisms fail, prokaryotes employ what we call an SOS response, which is error-prone. It's like trading cell death with mutations, hoping that these mutations will not kill the organism, but to give it a mutated version which can be beneficial to its survival. The machinery is shown, but in here, let's leave the whole mechanism for the higher biology subjects. As mentioned earlier, nitrogenous bases are subject to oxidation, and in this case, deamination. Deamination of adenine results to the formation of hypoxanthine, which is the base for the inosine nucleotide. Guanine can be transformed to xanthine, and lastly, cytosine to uracil. The presence of uracil in the DNA is already a form of mutation because there should be no uracil in a DNA strand. To repair these single nucleotide mutations, the base excision repair mechanism is employed. First, uracil DNA glycosylase hydrolyzes the nitrogenous base from the deoxyribose sugar, leaving a site called a purinic or a pyrimidic, aka AP site. The type of glycosylase depends on the type of mutated base. If a hypoxanthine is present instead, a hypoxanthine DNA glycosylase will be used. After the base is cut out, AP, endonuclease, and phosphodiesterase enzymes cut the remaining sugar phosphate, which will be replaced by DNA polymerase and sealed by DNA ligase. Another type of excision repair, called the nucleotide excision repair, involves the removal of two or more mutated bases. In this type of repair, instead of removing just one nucleotide, a region which spans the mutated bases will be removed, replaced by DNA polymerase, and sealed by DNA ligase. For example, to remove a pyrimidine dimer, excision nuclease is used to remove a certain DNA region, including the mutation, and then DNA helicase comes in to unwind and eventually remove the region. Then replication enzymes fill up the remaining bases. Both types of excision repair mechanisms are error-free, since there's a DNA template to be used, and that DNA template is usually unmutated. So far, we've only seen dimers, single nucleotide or multiple nucleotide mutations, and mismatched DNA, but what if a double-strand break occurs instead? These can be solved by two repair mechanisms, the non-homologous end joining and homologous recombination. In non-homologous end joining, the double-strand break is remedied by first binding of protein complexes to the site of mutation to avoid the breaks drifting away from each other. After which, the ends are trimmed and then joined together by using DNA ligase. This type of repair mechanism is also error-prone, just like the SOS response, and always result in deletion of DNA just to rejoin the break. Homologous recombination, on the other hand, which is the error-free counterpart of the previous mechanism, the sister chromatid is used as a template to fill in the correct missing nucleotides. After the ends are processed by trimming, the ends invade the sister chromatid, and it can do so because they have the same sequence. The DNA polymerase comes in and extends the chain, and finally joined by the DNA ligase. This mechanism is not new, since the same strand invasion occurs during meiosis, where non-sister chromatids participate in the crossing over. What can happen when these mutations are not resolved by the organism? Shown is the unmutated gene, where the codons specify a wild type or normal protein. In synonymous mutations, the mutation changes one codon for an amino acid into another codon, but still for that same amino acid. The change in codon 3 specifies the same arginine residue. Hence, synonymous mutations are also referred to as silent mutations. Missense mutations can be of two types, conservative or non-conservative, but have the same effect. The mutation changes the codon for one amino acid into a codon for another amino acid. Conservative missense mutations changes the amino acid into a chemically similar amino acid. In this example, arginine, a basic amino acid, was changed into lysine, another basic amino acid. In non-conservative missense mutations, a chemically dissimilar amino acid is placed instead. The arginine residue was replaced with the hydrophobic amino acid isoleucine. Lastly, nonsense mutations are mutations where the codon for one amino acid is changed into a stop codon. The effect can be seen as a premature termination during translation. All of these single nucleotide mutations are either a transition or a transversion process. Transition refers to a nucleotide change, but of the same family, a purine to purine or pyrimidine to pyrimidine. Transversion refers to a nucleotide change, opposite of that of transition, from a purine to a pyrimidine or a pyrimidine to a purine. The last set of mutations are called insertion-deletion mutations, or indels for short, which causes the mRNA reading frame to be shifted because of the additional or deleted nucleotides. Hence, it is also called a frame shift mutation. Next meeting, we'll be discussing DNA isolation and other techniques for DNA characterization and manipulation. Thank you for listening.